Welcome everyone in Cert 3 TVET. Here I am, a little updating video for those who missed our first week back from holidays. This is a little condensed version, hopefully it'll help you understand where we're at. I sent out the information on the first aid, just so you could focus on that if you missed the session, and this is the way I thought we could catch up for those that missed last week. We spent a lot of time last week trying to just get our thinking right and how we're going to approach this group project that looks at combining two subjects, the support group activities subject and a business administration subject. So the project, I'll just introduce it, how it works. It's done in small groups of 2 or 3, and it's around a issue of concern or that you think is very important for young people in the community today. And we've done a little bit of work on this in terms of brainstorming in the last week before the holidays, and some people came up with issues around alcohol and other drugs, mental health, Black Life Matters, families and relationships and getting on, and perhaps young people in care. So were some of the issues touched upon. Last week we revisited that activity, and it was sort of fine-tuning down into mental health. Most people had at least a bit of an interest in mental health, so we've sort of left it there, and I'll expand on what that might mean in this video. But I guess the starting point, after you've thought about that issue, what do you know about that issue and what else could you find out? And I guess in terms of the project, if you're working in your small teams or in your small groups, the first thing that I'd like you to do is create a mind map, but it's not the way I just want you all to come together and do the mind map. And this is something new that I didn't talk about last week. I want everyone to go and research in that group. If you're in a group of 2 or 3, everyone go off and do some research. Have a look at some key websites. We spoke about some of the key websites in terms of mental health in young people. Places like Headspace, Reach Out, Beyond Blue, Black Dog, Butterfly Foundation. They're all examples. And I guess it's about the idea that when you come back, that you've researched and you've come up and you bring something to the thinking of that, developing the mind map. And I'll talk a little bit about the mind map in a minute. When you do that little research, I want you to take notes so that you've got some evidence. So a lot of this project is about collecting evidence, stuff that you do and generate on the way, and putting that in a folder. And I did give out some examples of mind maps last week, so I want it to be really well thought out. But let's just stick on youth mental health. And if you're doing a mind map, they could go in lots of different directions. And some of the stuff we spoke about last week, if you were looking at mental health, is it around a diagnosis, someone who has bipolar versus what does it mean if you got anxiety or depression or a whole other, there are whole other diagnoses. Is it about just how do you everybody, and mental health is important to everybody. Is it about just what are the key ingredients to staying healthy in your mind and body? So whether it's stuff like relaxation, time management, exercise, good food, sleep, all those sorts of things are important. The idea of using alcohol and other drugs in terms of managing mental health, and perhaps people may turn to alcohol and other drugs to address mental health, calling that self-medication. And I guess the idea that you could get into your mind map is that different sorts of drugs have different impacts. So I guess as a simple example, marijuana would be something that would calm you down in a sense and make you more easygoing or placid and less worrying about the world perhaps, and perhaps so laid back that you don't get anything done. And maybe that people that perhaps are revved up, anxious, high anxiety, perhaps maybe they gravitate towards marijuana, whereas amphetamines, speed, ecstasy, there's things that would speed you up, rev you up. So if you're down and slow, getting you all revved up, maybe people would turn to those sort of drugs. We looked at the different ages and how it might be addressed, how you might introduce mental health, from a very young age to someone a bit older. Maybe, you could look at, say, let's say the range from kindergarten to leaving school, and everything in between. Some of the stressors, education, employment, family, relationships, Sexual health, sexuality could be something to consider for young people in terms of mental health. What about other groups, people with a disability or young people with a disability? What about Indigenous young people? And we know that the rate of mental health issues for young people, for Indigenous young people, could be quite high, and some of the stresses that they may face in terms of poverty, employment, education, family stresses, intergenerational trauma, all those sorts of things could feed into it if you wanted to examine that in your mind map as another example of an arm it may take. In short, with the mind map, I want people to go away and do their research, bring it back to the group, develop your mind map in consultation. So the evidence that I would have from you would be that individual research and then the creation of the mind map. And I'd like each group to do a simple presentation of their mind map and what they've come up with. So ideally we'd have some difference in our mind maps as well, so we're not listening to the same stuff over and over again. So there's perhaps a tip that, maybe be adventurous and go beyond. Maybe you do focus on another topic after you have your group discussions. And there was some stuff that we talk about in terms of decision making. We did speak about group stages as well. So typically we'd look at stages in group according to Tuckman. There's the forming, the storming, the norming, the performing, and then the saying goodbye or adjourning. So in terms of the development, this will come into important in your next steps, of your project. But coming together, we don't know each other, so with the certain activities that you might do in the forming stage, like getting to know your activity, icebreakers, as well as setting up a group agreement. The storming is where people maybe start to test the boundaries, maybe not get along, have disagreements. So what do we do as workers in that, from that worker's perspective in that stage? We go back to the group agreement, we revisit that. Is there something that needs to happen? Is it people about using some communication and conflict resolution skills? Norming is the group starting to get along, and maybe it takes some ownership of the activities that they're doing. Performing, it's really humming along and really achieving stuff and at the height of productivity. And adjourning and saying goodbye, I guess groups come to an end. All groups come to an end. Often in community services, they'll come to an end. They might be a one-session group, a one-day workshop. It might be a 6 weeks program, 1 day a week for 6 weeks, things like that. But at the end, we spoke about acknowledging feelings, whether they're happy, sad, or anything in between. Having a feed, celebration in that sense. Maybe it's certificates, that acknowledgement of the effort and the achievements of the group. Where you might be working, we did touch on this in terms of last week. So in terms of youth, we spoke about you might be working in the accommodation and that homelessness sector. Young people are living out of home, so that's quite a big area. Juvenile justice, so young people before the courts. And we also spoke about the types of groups that you might be working in some of those areas. So it could be around anger staff, management, it could be around sexual health, relationships, healthy relationships, in some of those settings, as well as we also spoke about it could be in disability, school, youth drop-in, mental health, alcohol and other drugs, maybe in a disadvantaged community, groups that you might be running in those settings. So whether it be job finding skills, relationships, relaxation, self-care, communications, that sort of stuff. I guess in the project, so just revisiting that, so the stages are getting into your group, researching and developing a mind map. We also have a thing called a work plan, which guides the next stages in particular, how we're going to get to where we want to go, what do we want to achieve. So after the mind map, we wanted to develop some sort of product, and that could be something creative. And we spoke about, or I gave some examples. Of a picture book as something that was created by a group last year. So the picture book looked at, in particular, the idea of bullying, and it was designed at younger kids, say in kindergarten. And you like the idea that product, you read that picture book and lends itself to group activities and group discussions and that sort of stuff. So that was one example. Maybe a thing like a magazine, that could be a product. Could be a video. Maybe you want to make a video. We've got some good resources we're starting to pull together to make videos. I'm not using the good ones today, but there's some stuff there. Could be a podcast. Could be t-shirt making, making a design. That could be that could be a product that and then you use that t-shirt design or make it, or the activity that when you get to the coming up with an activity for a group, could be making a t-shirt design around the issue that you're working with. So once you've got your product, you think about how you would use that product, whether it's, it could even be, we spoke about a website, if you made a website, how would you use that product if you're running a group? So a website might work quite well if you're running a group with older children. Depends what's in the website. Maybe it would work with younger people. How you use the activity, and you come up with like an outline or a session plan, how you would go about using your resources and incorporating that into some sort of activity with a group. So the t-shirt design, maybe that would lend itself to doing something at a community event. Maybe it's a festival even, and then it's around healthy relationships. We spoke about some of the, in relation to mental health and drugs and alcohol and the idea of pill testing, whether there's something in there around that t-shirt design, and that lends itself to an activity. And so so you've got to come up with your product as well. So what you come up with your product, something that's creative and useful, and that can be used in some way in terms of running a group around your particular area of focus or interest or passion or concern. Right at the very end, there are a few little short answer questions that I'll get everyone to answer as well. Hopefully it's an enjoyable process, an enjoyable thing to do, coming up with the idea, the chance to be creative. Singing, you can develop a song if you like. We developed a few little semi-hip-hoppy story type song stuff last week just by using random words as an example of activity. Hopefully that's useful, and 2 little pips.
Basically, 6 months ago were excellent. Everyone was looking after each other. Like, you had the squats. Main squats were the Empire, the JR, Jolly Roger, and the old Palais. All of us were looking after each other, but then the coppers started to come in. Busters started.
Wow, I don't really know anyone at this party. Do you guys?
No.
Hey guys, how you going?
Hi.
Good. Yeah, come over here. Come on. Hey, you enjoying the party so far?
Oh, we just got here.
Yeah,
Don't really know anyone.
Yeah, lots of people here, eh?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm the city chair guy.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Likewise, yeah. So, what's your names?
My name's Amber.
Well, nice to meet you.
Jaden.
Jaden, hello Jaden.
8th and the 3rd.
8th and the 3rd.
Yes.
Yeah. Fabulous. I'm honoured 8th and the 3rd. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You enjoying my party?
No, it's boring.
Oh well, I've got just a thing. Okay. You know how you can make a party better?
With photons.
I've got something better.
Ah.
Chairs.
Chair.
Chairs. See these chairs?
What are chairs?
Oh, they're fantastic. Like you can have 1 chair, you can have 3 chairs, 4 chairs. I mean, what I've heard is that you can stack up lots of chairs. If you have more than 1 chair, you can have a whole new perspective on the world.
I thought chairs were kind of bad.
Oh no, not my chairs. These chairs are genuine Colombian chairs.
No, my mate took one of them once. He wasn't the same.
Sorry?
My mate took one of them once. He wasn't the same.
He wasn't the same. Did he have a Colombian chair? Look at it. Do you want to feel it?
No.
Go on.
I don't want to touch it.
It's beautiful.
Bad.
I don't think we like chairs. I don't know. We've never really tried any chairs.
Chairs.
What about you, Ethan? I haven't heard much from you. What about chairs for you?
Sure thing, why the hell not?
No,
What
don't
about,
do it.
see, look, Ethan wants a chair, isn't that
Yeah.
fantastic? We're going to just stop it there for a sec.